This is not the church of Joseph Smith.
Travis, my good self. I used to have Community of Christ members comment about how they appreciate my telling the truth to the Brighamite Mormons. For those of you who don't know, the Community of Christ used to be the Reorganized Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints by Emma Smith through her son when he got old enough to run the church. And he was involved in a lawsuit for the Temple Lot case, trying to obtain possession of it. He lost, but the judge of the United States of America declared that his organization was the legitimate succession of his father, but he lost the Temple Lot. The Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, here headquartered in Salt Lake City, Utah, was never involved because they fled the country. But members of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints want to tour the church history sites and don't realize that Kirtland Temple is not a Brighamite branch temple or history site. It doesn't belong to the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, which is going to be very annoying trying to distinguish between the different religions, different branch-offs from the succession crisis. As Mormons, as we grow up in the church, Brighamite Mormons, we grow up in the church being told about Kirtland and the temple, and we still have section 110 of the Doctrine and Covenants, where Joseph Smith receives the keys of Elijah for our temple ceilings, and that key of Moses, which apparently is just missionary work rather than the key of Peter, James, and John, which the Brighamite Church switched. These members from the Community of Christ would share stories, not just about the corruption that infiltrated and destroyed their church, but and that's fairly recently. It's in the 1900s when this occurred. But also talking about how Mormon tourists, Brighamite Mormon tourists, come to Kirtland and start asking questions about the baptismal font, the temple endowment rooms, and the magic underwear, and the Community of Christ tells them, we have none of that. Joseph Smith had nothing to do with any of that. It was all Brigham Young. And so here I am trying to tell Mormons, this church here in Utah, it's not Joseph's church. Nothing is the same. And yet Mormons get upset. They don't want to hear it. They're in denial. They insist. And yet, take the tour yourself, Mormons. Go there. Look for the oxen with the baptismal font. look for the celestial room and the telestial room and the terrestrial room and the garden room and the creation room, you're not gonna find them. You're not gonna find magic underwear being worn by any community of Christ. And what are you gonna do when you're confronted with reality? You live in denial. Oh, you guys are just apostate. That's why you're not the true church. Dear God, the abuse. Mormons, stop it. But, I mean, I've got among this whole pile of ideas for videos to redo the church history videos I've done and focus on just Joseph Smith's organization alone. Everything to do with the theology, the doctrine, the scriptures, and the rituals, the administration, and I know what's going to happen. You know, Mormons will continue to refuse when they realize, hey, this isn't Joseph. No, you're lying. This is fake. Because Mormons insist that the current system that we have is exactly the same that Joseph did. That's how they got fooled. That's how Mormons got deceived, is because Mormons think, oh, well, the president of the Quorum of the 12 is the one who succeeds as president of the church. That's the way it's always been. It's not. Mormons don't even understand that Joseph Smith was the Messiah. And Mormons automatically go, no way, no, blasphemy. There is only one Messiah, and he's coming from outer space to Adam-on-Diamond, but the church is not going to go to Adam-on-Diamond. This is the headquarters here in Utah, so maybe he's going to come to the conference center one conference during a priesthood session, which would have to be in April. The church sort of did away with the priesthood session last year, if you remember. They pulled a 2020 or a 2000 or 200-year bicentennial year celebration, which they were supposed to do it for the whole year, and coronavirus sort of screwed that up for them. You know, that whole Doctrine and Covenants, section 45, verse 31, Joseph Smith and his prophecies, interfering with our plans. But, I mean, seriously? Mormons believe in the myth. Mormons do not understand we're pre-Jewish. We're not Christian. And so all of the Christian theology, doctrine, nope, none of it. That's not ours. Joseph Smith was pre-Jewish, Israelite. That's the religion he was restoring. Not the Jesus of the Gospels, who was portrayed as trying to restore the Israelite religion. If you hadn't read your Gospels lately, which is Egyptian. A whole bunch of Egyptianisms in the Gospels. Nobody catches it. But, yeah, Mormons are completely clueless because the Brighamites, Brigham and Heber, changed the doctrine, changed the theology, changed the administration, changed everything. The rituals, scriptures. Brigham Young, I did the video not too long ago where Heber C. Kimball made Brigham Young the king, Messiah, and in return, Brigham Young gave Heber C. Kimball and the rest of his missionary 12, administrative 12 powers, with all being prophets, seer, and revelators, not translators. And so the Brighamite Church is assumed by the majority of the world, because they're in the greater population numbers than the other branch-offs, as the true successors. And so everybody picks on Mormons as critics because they're not. And the church just in denial, causes Mormons to deny, nope, not true, we're a religion, you have to leave us alone. And I keep trying to tell you guys to focus on the crimes. Don't get distracted by rocks in a hat by Joseph. It's not Joseph's organization. It's Brigham Young's. So, ex-Mormons aren't interested either. Because ex-Mormons, those of you who watch this video, you had heard something about the church, and likely the church came out and confessed. That's why you heard about it, from the Gospel Topics essays or the CES letter. But you heard something that was too much for you to handle. And that was it. You're out. Great, good for you. You have courage, whereas the remaining Mormons are nothing but cowards as they attack us for leaving. But the difference between what I do and how you did it is different. For me, I understand that somebody telling me something is just hearsay. It's not evidence. And so for me, I had pursued ancient language translation and had become the decipherer of Paleo-Hebrew and the decipherer of Egyptian petroglyphs. So I knew Joseph was a translator. So yes, in 2014, when I finally read the Gospel Topic essay, Translation and Historicity of the Book of Abraham, I realized it was a lie. They were lying to Mormons in this essay, calling him a revelator instead of a translator, to excuse the prophets from being translators, because they don't know how to translate. If you haven't been paying attention to Nelson's horribly failed attempts at doing the simplest of translations. Oh dear God. Please just stop. You're humiliating yourself to the world in front of Mormonism. But nope, he carries on. My hell. And yet, because I had served as a church service missionary in the curriculum department, working on the footnotes for the second editions of our scriptures, for foreign language editions, hadn't been done for English, because certain Elder Ballard is not dead yet. He was a part of the original group from 79 and 81 editions. And the church has this policy of not humiliating those who did the work before by showing that their work was crap and needed to be corrected. But they didn't do that for Bruce. So much of Bruce's work needs to be changed. Oh dear God. I'll give you one example. In the Book of Mormon and the Book of Ether, it only talks about the Jaredites coming from the tower. That's it. That's all. And yet Bruce R. McConkie assumes it's the Tower of Babel. Yeah, no. Bruce R. McConkie was responsible for the chapter headings, among many other things. Footnotes in Isaiah, for example, which he did a much better job than the others, I think, because he was pretty quick. And so if you just pulled out your old Mormon scriptures, if you're no longer Mormon, and you go through the footnotes, just start at the beginning, work your way through, checking all the footnotes, you'll recognize a difference in certain chapters, and you'll know which ones Bruce R's was. If you use the foreign language editions, you'll see a lot of corrections, but you'll see some things that weren't changed. For example, the reason Sodom and Gomorrah were destroyed is still because of homosexuality, not neglect of the poor. David. He's the cause of why that didn't get changed. David Gaunt. But and so I know that these gospel topic essays were done exactly through that same process. I saw in that essay John Gee's linguistic footprint, fingerprint, whatever you want to call it. He trampled all over Joseph Smith, just threw him under the bus to save the church, the Brighamite church. And so for me, that didn't tell me that, okay, well, it's the prophets, they're throwing Joseph under the bus, therefore I'm out. No, that wasn't enough, because I knew it was a church service missionary, most likely John Gee, and so I knew not to blame the church, even though they should know these things and should be reviewing them rather than the person assigned from the 70. But Mormons believe that everything is approved by the leaders of the church, and it is, but they don't know the subject matter, and they just accept it as is. They'll glance at it, look over it, but they're like, it's too much work to go through every footnote or read the whole thing. It's good enough. Stamp of approval. That's how it's done in the church. Mormons don't know this. They get mad at me. Oh, no, the prophets, they know all. They're not in a bubble. No, they really are in a bubble. They give orders for money making. That's it. They don't care about the doctrine, as they've confessed in conference now. Remember that? Oh, we don't know everything. I've consulted these Hebrew experts. I've consulted BYU scholars who know more than me. What? What? I mean, I had a bishop from the older singles ward. It was technically a branch. But we're cleaning the church one Saturday, and I'm getting to the couches to do the vacuuming, and he joins me, and he starts talking about how He's not an intellectual like I am, and he's never even read the Book of Mormon. And I'm just thinking to myself, trying to bite my tongue. Oh, dear God. But that's the sad tragedy. Mormons will not go to the source of truth. They will not search their religion. They will not search their scriptures. They will not search for doctrine. They will not search for the church history. Whatever the church tells them to believe, they believe. And that incites them to hatred of those of us who have left. Against those of us who do present what we have learned. The majority of the exes just regurgitate the hearsay. The church threw Joseph Smith under the bus for polygamy. And so people, ex-Mormons, continue to spread it around to everybody so that everybody's under the same agreement that Joseph Smith was a rapist of a 14-year-old girl and secretly practiced polygamy and asked women to leave their husbands and had babies and all this stuff without actually checking that hearsay, if it was legitimate or not. I mean, for an example, in regards to Joseph Smith being arrested as a glass looker, ex-Mormons all know about this, and I hope that ex-Mormons know that the court document was found. It's from the, I want to say Bainbridge. I think it is Bainbridge, because the Bainbridge. Batavian is different. Bainbridge Courthouse, and you can look it up on a map. Bainbridge, you have the farm here, and then to the east, southeast, is where Bainbridge Courthouse is. And there's a reason why other historical writings by Joseph are written the way they are. And I've gone over that with my Harmony, Pennsylvania playlist videos. Harmony, PA Scandal, I think it is. But Wikipedia, when it talks about Joseph Smith being arrested as a glass looker, it's put in there as speculation, up for opinion. You decide whether he was or not. And they have a reference in there, if they do at all, and it's referring to an author, a modern day author who wrote a book. That's not how you reference. That's hearsay. All that Wikipedia had to do is post the picture of that court document. It's on the internet. You just Google search it. It's among the pictures. Images, I guess, is the category. That's how I got my version of it, my copy and paste, or copy of it. Mormons refuse to search for that document because it's irrelevant to their eternal salvation. It's not essential. That's how they justify not doing any work for their own religion. And how do you deal with people like that? You can't. I mean, I had an ex-wife and my neighbor here that I've talked about who use Mormonism to attack me. The ex She left me because of it. She used the religion to leave me, to justify leaving me. I hadn't left the church yet, or hadn't been kicked out of the church yet by the bishop, but she used the religion, her interpretation of the religion, to deny all the research that I was doing, and finding out. I had been spending decades studying Mormonism. I'm Mormon. It's my church. I'm going to study Mormonism. I'm not going to just go along for the ride and be a blind, dumb sheep. But once I got kicked out, told not to come back unless I take down all my publications and videos, which I was not going to do. That's when I had made the discovery that Brigham Young was a bloodthirsty man. And that, for me, was all I needed to know. I was never going back. You can't have a prophet of God who's a bloodthirsty man. It wasn't self-defense. He ordered murders. So much bloodshed. Dear God. And so when you read about the Great and Abominable Church in the Book of Mormon and how they murder the saints of God. Which religion has saints? Catholics have saints. They're not the regular members, though. What do you do? Because to present Joseph's actual religion, actual organization, to present a never before until the pre-Jews concept of a Messiah, people are going to want me murdered. Oh, wait, they already do. There is no tolerance for other people's right to religion in the First Amendment. To worship how, where, and what we may. Mormons won't allow it, especially if you come from Mormonism, because they go after you. They give you all sorts of abusive labels: apostate, evil, korihor, satanic, antichrist, fallen. They even call themselves victims. You're attacking the church by leaving because of whatever reason, whether it's polygamy, murder, not being able to translate, not warning us of the latter days signs, keeping us safe from coronavirus, whatever it was that caused us to leave. Mormons don't care. They throw out all sorts of accusations, and they use their Mormon religion to do it, just as I've seen here. Because the truth is too hard for them to handle. It just doesn't compute. They have created their own religion in their heads, and everything that they experience fits into that reality. And so when you talk about the origins of Joseph Smith having nothing to do with the current practice, they can't compute. Does not compute. Error. Danger, Will Robinson. And they literally blow a brain fuse. They go into shock. They don't know how to process it. And so they shut themselves down, block it out of their head, and that hardens them if it were to ever come up again. That's what going into shock is. And that's what happens to Mormons when they go to Kirtland, is they're going hoping for a faith-promoting experience to learn about the origins of the church and how it's the same as now, and instantly their belief systems are shattered. And so they have to throw out, oh, well, these guys are just apostate. Well, yeah. Wow, they've strayed so far from the truth. They need the Book of Mormon in their lives. They need to come unto Christ, the true Mormon Christ. They've strayed so far. And it doesn't help when the Community of Christ had that mid-1900s episode, or early 1900s episode, whenever it was. Because then that justifies Mormons in saying, oh yeah, you guys aren't the true church. We Mormons, members of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, never had a situation of controversy in our religion where, say like the United States of America came in and disincorporated our organization so that we no longer existed as an actual entity because we were committing severe crimes such as human sex trafficking and prostitution and the forging of coinage and extortion and fraud and murder. Yeah, no, we're the one true church. But yeah, if you just ignore it all, dismiss it, fake news, Brigham Young, he was true, he was a true prophet of God, and thus everything he did was acceptable to God, so that Mormons can continue to have faith-promoting experiences. But that's the trap, the brainwashing trap, is that if you find out truth that doesn't conform with your belief system, you just say, well, that's not faith-promoting, that can't be true. It's like watching the news and saying, oh, a car accident? Oh, that's not happy news. I'm going to call or email and complain. Fox 13 News Utah needs to stop this spread of violence on our television screen. It actually was done here in Utah. So now the news is not allowed at a crime scene. They have to be zoned far back, and so you'll see the cameras. They have to zoom in to the location of where the incident took place, because the police won't let them in, because the police want to either plant evidence or shoot an unarmed black man, who are rare in Utah. And yet we've still had a large number, percentage-wise, here in Utah as well. But, thank goodness we have Gary Herbert, Mormon, to provide faith-promoting experiences by denying it even happens. Black Lives Matter gets going, and Herbert gets up and says, oh, yeah, other states and cities have this problem, not here in Utah. Don't bleep yourself, Herbert. So, alright, that's enough. I do have a video to actually do the original Joseph Smith organization stuff, but again, like I said, it's not going to be treated with welcoming arms. Because nothing is the same. Nothing other than Joseph Smith is the name of the founder.